Why can't headphones or IEM look as good as this? Hello and thank you for clicking on this video. I'll be sharing my experience on Rose Technics DAC amp all-in-one unit, and this is the Rose Technics RT-5000, which is retailed for $650 US. But before we dive deeper into this experience, I'd like to first take this opportunity to thank Rose Technics for sending this unit for me to test and share my experience on it. However, this unit will be sent back once my testing is finished, but I appreciate the opportunity. If you've been enjoying my content, please do hit that like and subscribe button, as that will help my channel a lot and allow me to bring more content like these. For the unboxing experience, unsleeving will reveal a big box and you'll be greeted by the unit itself upon opening the box. There's also a converter for the plug since the stock plug isn't compatible in Australia. It also comes with two very long but very nice looking USB cable, where one is a USB-C to USB-A cable and another is the standard USB to USB-A cable. So it gives you options for which USB input you like to use, which is nice. There's also a signal jammer provided, and there's pretty much the accessories provided with the RT-5000. The design of the RT-5000 is simply eye-catching. If you are not a fan of the color green, then maybe this design may not appeal to you, but at least they have a black variant. But even I'm not personally a fan of green in general, I still think it looks good on this unit, with the contrast with the dark colored timber on the faceplate. They have this faux leather-like feel at the top with the RT-5000 branding in gold just to make it pop a little. Grills on the side made out of metal, powder coated in green as well to match the looks. The glorious gold knob with more branding etched on the knob kinda makes it a little bit hard to see where the volume indicator is at times. There's even some wordings etched to let you know of its features like Bluetooth, EQ, power, but I think with the gold and the multiple lines engraved, it just makes it difficult to read. And I wish the letters were either in a different color or they didn't have the line engraving on the background so the wordings stand out a little bit more. Just a minor nitpick in the grand scheme of things, and all in all, very eye-catching choices made to make this DAC amp unit stand out from the crowd, and stand out it will. It's also in a very compact size, relative to a lot of all-in-one units I've tested so far, so it's great for anyone having limited desk space. It also has a very analog-like feel with buttons at the front of the faceplate, switches at the back, so just exploring its functions and features. There are two switches in the back, one for on and off, and another to toggle between USB and Bluetooth mode. In terms of inputs and outputs, just running through what's on the back, you have the power input with a power switch on the side, and RCA and XLR outputs, since you can use this as a DAC hooked up to an amp. There's a switch which toggles between USB input or Bluetooth mode. There's the Bluetooth receiver at the top, SBDIF input, and USB-A input. At the front, you have a 6.4mm single-ended output, 4.4mm balanced, and a 3.5mm single-ended output. Sadly, no XLR outputs, so if you want to use this for your headphones with XLR outputs, you need to get either a converter or swap cables with different terminations. Turning on the unit, you'll be greeted by this red light at the front faceplate. There are three buttons on the faceplate. On the far left, you have the gain button. On the middle, you have the mute button, and on the right, you have the Bluetooth button. So just running through some of the features, there are actually 4 gain settings on this unit. There's actually a bigger jump in volume between the two highest settings, and unfortunately, there is no lighting or indication on which setting you're on. So my advice is to turn the volume all the way down before you play around with gain setting, because you may accidentally blast your head off playing with this setting. The middle button is the mute button, and similar to the gain setting, there's no indication that your songs are muted or not. It's all done internally, but I wish there were more lighting indications to let me know if I'm muted or not. Also, pressing the button for a few seconds will toggle between different filters, and the filter number you're on will be indicated by the number of light blinks. So I'll list down all the 7 different filters that are available if you want to pause the video, but at least they give you some options to play around with. The final button will be toggling the Bluetooth, and pressing and holding the button for a few seconds will initiate pairing mode, and then you can pair to your selected device like your phone. But as mentioned earlier, pressing the mute button doesn't show that it is muted on my device, and no lighting indication even though it's already on mute. So before we dive deeper, there are a few nitpicks that I've picked along the way that I thought I'd highlight in this video. Even though the unit looks great as an overall, upon closer inspection, it seems that the outer case and the circuitry inside is not 100% aligned. So you can see some some ports a little bit off center from the cuts on the case. Everything still works and you can still plug things in, but I mean, if you're spending this much on a unit, they could have at least aligned it properly. Maybe it's just happening for this particular unit that I received, and I really hope this is not a reoccurring issue. If you do own an RT-5000, share with me your experience in the comment section down below. Also at the front, I'm not sure if it's picked up on camera, but essentially the travel distance between the button and the switch for the EQ button is a lot longer compared to the rest, so it requires a lot more push before I get it to click. It seems the misalignment from the circuitry in the case, as mentioned earlier, could have potentially caused this issue, as the button on the far right is a lot closer and requires less push to activate compared to the EQ button. Also for this particular unit, when I'm putting on really sensitive IEMs, when I touch the unit itself, I can hear like that static noise floor sound, and it's not as evident when I don't touch the case, so I'm not sure what's happening that touching the unit will cause that, but you'd think the case itself would offer some form of protection for the circuit board inside to prevent things like this from happening. So this unit is not without its flaws, and I hope Rose Technics can implement some QA procedures on the RT-5000 to make it better in future produced units, because it's such a great looking unit, but these little issues just put a dent on the overall experience. So with that all out of the way, let's talk about the performance and how it affects sound, if any. Rated to produce an output at about 1600 milliwatts at 32 ohms and 800 milliwatts for a single-ended. It produces sufficient power to drive most of your headphones, although testing it with the Sennheiser HD6XX, which is a 300 ohm headphone, I feel the RT-5000 struggled in pushing the 6XX to sing, or it could potentially be the nature of how this unit affects the sound, but the 6XX sounded a little bit flatter and is missing the fullness and warmth that is typically associated with its sound. And this is with the highest gain setting, but in terms of volume, at the higher setting I'm on the 1 o'clock position on the dial, so I still have some headroom for more volume, which suggests that I have enough power. I guess it's just the nature of the RT-5000 sound that may not suit the 6XX particularly. So to explore a little bit deeper, I feel the RT-5000 is like a balance between something like topping and hi-fi, threading the line between warmth and analytical. It doesn't sharpen the notes too much that it sounds too clean, but it doesn't give too much warmth that it blurs details as well. And I prefer to use the RT-5000 as a DAC rather than a dedicated all-in-one, as the DAC performs quite well, and pairing it with the Zen Can hi-fi Signature Edition seems to give me the performance from the RT-5000 with the play options from the Zen Can, even though it's slightly less powerful than the output from the RT-5000's amp. I haven't tested the RT-5000 with the Sifgar Luans, and I feel it's another nice pairing in terms of aesthetics and sound, where the sharpness of the Luans are tamed, but the bass is also a touch flatter, although a bit cleaner from its original characteristic. But if you loved how the Sifgar Luans sound, then maybe this isn't the right pairing for you either. I think the RT-5000's biggest competitor would be another all-in-one unit that is also one of my favorite all-in-one units to date, and that is the hi-fi EF400. The EF400 offers a lot more power, coming in with 4.4 watts on the outputs compared to the 1.6 from the RT-5000, and the EF400 can power a lot of headphones other than something like the Susvara or other flagship high-impedance headphones, but planar magnetic headphones are not an issue with the EF400, and even the 6XX, despite its warmer profile, still sounds really nice with the EF400, with the bass being full and punchy, yet it still has the soundstage width for details to present itself. The only thing the RT-5000 has over the EF400 will be a few more additional features and inputs, particularly Bluetooth connection, more filter options to play around with, and a few more inputs, so if wireless connection is important in your setup, then the RT-5000 would be the better choice. Plus, the RT-5000 just floors the EF400 in the looks department. I mean, one looks like a feature on your shelf and one just looks like a black box. Also, the RT-5000 is a lot more compact, so if you're concerned about desk space, then that's something you want to take into consideration as well, as the EF400 is not only bigger but a lot heavier as well, so it's not as portable compared to the RT-5000. So if you're looking for something to test all your headphones or IEMs and don't really care about looks or additional features, the hi-fi EF400 is going to be my top pick with all the available headphone outputs you may want, except for USB-C, which seems to be a trend lately for IEMs, but that's another discussion for another video. So in summary, I think the Rose Technics RT-5000 is one of the most eye-catching DAC amp units I've seen, and it does bring a few features in its unit and sufficient power for your gears, but is somehow marred by some of its flaws, which can be a turn-off for some people. And it's just in a space where there are a lot of competitions out there. But the one thing they can't take away from the RT-5000 is in the looks department. However, this is all based on one man's experience, and I'm curious to know yours. Will this all-in-one unit be the one for you, or what is your current pick for an all-in-one DAC M unit at this price range? Comment below and let me know, and with that all said, I'd like to thank Rose Technics again for this opportunity and to all of you for watching. See you in the next video.